thank you. Very happy to be here. I don't know why they got a 50-plus guy to talk about agency of the future. They should have got someone slightly younger, but that's okay. Okay. So yes, I've been around for a while. I started off in the mid-90s in traditional advertising in print, doing ads, writing ads in various creative departments, various agencies. Then I got bored at some point, with, structured, formatted things. Maybe I wasn't that good enough. That's also a possibility. So I moved to the digital side, as we call it, about 10 years back. I think around 2008, 2009, and I've been doing there, I've been there so far. I've been both, like this guy was saying, both on the client side and on the agency side. I've co-founded a couple of startups which are doing very, very badly, I should tell you. Okay, but it gives me, I like doing many different things in the digital space. It gives me perspective. A lot of them fail, but somehow I manage to pay the rent. So that's what I do. Currently, what keeps me very busy is I'm consulting with the government. I'm trying to kind of do a consolidated one language thing for 40, 45 ministries. And I have a couple of, consulting assignments also. Okay, some are very boring, but the boring stuff pays the rent very well. And some are very exciting, So that's broadly what I do, right? The line, of course, is Houston, we have a problem, right? But what is actually happening here is Houston, you have a problem, right? So by Houston, I mean the traditional structure. I don't mean the traditional agency, but the traditional client, the traditional consumer, the traditional agencies, these are all what I metaphorically mean Houston. Okay. So I'm going to play you, I'm going to show you a video which I'm sure all 30-plus people in this room are aware of. And then I'm going to ask you, and let this be an interactive kind of thing, if possible, how you would do it today in 2019. I'm going to play an iconic TV ad, which, some of you surely are familiar with.
कुछ खास है हम सभी में, कुछ बात है हम सभी में, बात है खास है, कुछ स्वाद है, क्या स्वाद है जिंदगी में।
कैडबरीज डेयरी मिल्क, असली स्वाद जिंदगी का।
Are you familiar with this film? Some of you? Some of you must be, and some of you are not, right? It was made in 1994. So, how old are you, if I may ask? 28. I was thinking exactly the same number. Anyway, so if you had to do it, the same thing, how would you do it? I would say I'd do the same film. This is brilliant. This is genius. But what are the other ways you would do it today in 2019? How would you do this? You know this film, right? You know what's happening. It's for a chocolate dairy milk, right? You've seen this, right? How would you do it today? I'm not asking who you are, whether you're in digital, non-digital, whatever, it doesn't matter. How would you do it today?
I didn't get the...
Okay, the brand...
Which perception, yeah.
The company, the brand, the product has asked you to do something. Okay. You have various mediums in front of you, starting with mobile, I guess, right? What would you do? Would you do exactly the same thing? Which is okay, it's genius. But what else would you do today? Come on, it's not that hard. You'd say, I'll do a Facebook something or a...
Yeah, I would introduce something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there can be live something on an Instagram or a Facebook thing, and
would you do an online, maybe real-time contest kind of thing, especially when this Cricket World Cup is happening?
Yeah, a Facebook Live or something on that. where instead of showing people that she interacted and she got excited, we would get people like real time people around the world
Yeah.
to interact, something like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Anyone has a opinion? Okay. So that's what I'm saying, you know, and I like your answer. It is real time, you know. We are living in a very real time world. We're living in a very instant kind of world. There is no static framework. You know, this film was static at the end of the day, right? It's been played over and over in the same format. The actors, the story, the music never changed for the last 20, 25 years, right? It's exactly the same. But today, you would probably have many different approaches to the same thing. And I'm not saying digital. You could do an activation thing out of this also, you know. Ask actual people to jump into the pitch, illegally, I guess, and do something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just giving an example. So how would you do this in 2019? What would you do beyond or besides, you know, this brilliant ad that is, okay. So like I was saying, I started off in, you know, in the mid-90s, late 90s, writing copy. And, you know, today I'm here, for good or worse. And, you know, there are certain common things that that I see today, and there are certain things that have, you know, undergone a tectonic shift. The one common thing that I see is, you know, it's still about great ideas. You know, it doesn't matter what is the medium. If you look at the little bits and pieces of digital content that on your phone probably in the last 1 year, you'll remember a couple, right? I mean, I remember a lot of election stuff because I live in Delhi and, you know, inundated with, you know, a lot of these fake videos, memes, etc., right? Especially about Mamata Di, right? So you'll remember some idea, something that stands out from an idea perspective, right? But a lot of other things have changed, and it's changed primarily because of one word, which is technology. The technology, you could call it, you know, spin-off of technology is data, spin-off of technology is real-time, spin-off of technology is, you know, conversation between the typical consumer and the brand guy, the product guy. Previously, it was broadcast, right? This ad is an ad that you saw was a broadcast ad. You're supposed to see it, enjoy it, and go home. Now you can talk to the ad, right? You can talk to, you can troll the ad. You know, everyone trolls everyone these days, right? So that's the bigger differences. But, you know, I mean, though the topic is what's the agency of the future like, I think the other question to ask is, or at least, you know, one of the other questions at the second level is, what is the client of the future going to be like, right? What is the consumer of the future going to be like? I mean, I was downstairs and, you know, there was this Machado, you know, he's an iconic guy. I was listening to his presentation and I was kind of trying to imagine where a Burger King fits into the future, right? And I was kind of thinking that a lot of people are moving away from the Burger King kind of diet, nutrition thing, if you know what I'm saying, right? So is Burger King going to exist 10 years from now? Probably yes. A little more, I'm not very sure, right? But I'm pretty sure that, you know, things like Uber, things like Airbnb, you know, these brands are coming up for the customer of the future. So, you know, it's also important that we kind of step aside and wonder, you know, kind of explore who the client of the future is like, what the client of the future is like. I mean, I remember when we started off in the 90s, there would be these guys with hellos who would be in the same company for 10 years, 15 years, right? And if you look at the average marketer today, I mean, shelf life of, I don't know, maybe 2 years or 3 years. I think 4 years is the global average, including India, right? You hear of someone from a purely FMCG background moving into a Google, a tech company, right? You hear of, I mean, the Indigo guy, I forget his name, Indigo CMO, moving into, I think, Oyo rooms, right? So there are these massive, sideways shifts happening, and it's very difficult to say, which, where is the client coming from or going? What is he thinking? Sometimes you have domain expertise, sometimes you have technology expertise, sometimes you have distribution expertise. Especially when you look at the newer companies, which you can call them startups or successful startups, etc. They don't think the way we think, and I'm speaking from an advertising point of view. They don't think like we think anymore. So I think the question to ask is, how are these guys thinking? What are their expectations from an agency, ad agency? This is sometime last year. I think some survey was done. So, and I'm sure most of you would agree with this, in your experience. They have sometimes 6, 7 agencies. One is creative agency, one is media buying agency, and I think that is fair. But even within creative, you have 3, 4 different kinds of creatives, okay? I know of an agency, and this is in Delhi, who do only Instagram videos, 1-minute videos. That's it, nothing else. And they're doing well. For 4 people, it's a 4 people small kind of thing, but the biggest advertisers in India are talking to them, right? I mean, the money might be small, maybe a few lakhs at the most, but when the CMO of, a really large company calls up these people personally saying, I want you guys to come to my office tomorrow, there's something happening. There's something for, larger agencies also. What are the interesting problems of, not the future, even, look at today, that the client has, forget the client, forget you're from an agency, forget the word agency for a second, but what are the interesting problems that a client has on his hands, and he could lose his job in the next 3 days? I mean, sales, obviously. That's the first thing anyone will tell you. But what before sales? In my experience in the last 10 years, doing a little bit of digital, little bit of integrated, etc., is the client often does not understand who the consumer is. That's one big issue. They'll give you a demographic, SSCA or SSCB, which is actually 60 or 80-year-old language, right? But in this age of hyper targeting, right, and major competition, hyper competition at the street level, what are the, like Dave Trott was saying, can you fragment your core audience, like onion rings? Is there any merit in looking at it that way? Solving, attacking audiences one by one. So often, the client, and I'm being a little ageist, any client guy, any brand manager above 35 struggles to understand, consumers, my experience. I mean, they kind of format everything into one guy, or 2 guys at the most, They can't think beyond SCCAs and SCCBs, right? And the entire point of, if you're talking about new agencies, okay, is targeting, it's data. At a basic data kind of level. So a lot of, I was talking about these startups that I'm involved in, fortunately or unfortunately. See, I don't have a brand problem because I don't even exist. People don't care about what brand values I have. What I need to do is customer acquisitions, right? Someone has to come and try my product. In one case, it was this, healthcare, Ayurveda, natural kind of product, and there are, frankly, hundreds of those also, okay? So I want to get people to my thing, my, app, website, whatever you call it, and try out my service. We have a doctor's, consulting engine, basically. Don't sell medicine. And it was, very interesting learning for me. As in, if I was talking about awareness, etc., I was fighting the big guys, and I didn't have that money. Online, I didn't have the money to fight the big guys. So I really had to sharpen, target my specific audience. It was not all women. Women were our audience, but we kind of did a little bit of data mining, and there are many free tools with which you can kind of explore your, consumer. Okay, free tools. Google has a very nice, suite of free tools. And we realized there was this one lady, one consumer that we were actually targeting in a, smaller towns. Women who didn't have access to, specialized, advice. Once we started doing that, and straight away started targeting these people, then our, enquiries, and a little later the sales started going up. Unfortunately, you still need to spend a lot of money, which we didn't have, or still don't. But that's what I'm saying. The problems of clients today are very, very different from the marketing problems, which we hear about. I want to play one video. I want to play a video. Where is it? It's a very good example of 21st century problems.
Best Buy has always been the undisputed tech expert, but their key asset, the knowledge of the Blue Shirts and Geek Squad agents, was confined to their stores. So if people never came in, how would they ever know what they were missing? So Best Buy decided to launch a tool that could extend the knowledge of their geeks and Blue Shirts beyond their walls and out into the digital space. Meet the 12th Force, a modern, digitized volunteer army of Best Buy employees available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Twitter. And not to push products or increase sales, but to provide TWELP, a fancy new term for expert technical help in tweet form. If you have a question, simply tweet @12force and get an answer fast. In fact, for every question tweeted, over 2,000 Blue Shirts are racing to give the fastest and bestest answer. And you got answers from real Best Buy employees, not from some call center an ocean away. And no questions are out of bounds. No questions are too ridiculous. No questions are ignored. Plus, the collective power of 12th Force is always watching for tech issue tweets and can quickly lend a hand, even without anyone asking. Since the launch, 12th Force has answered thousands and thousands of tweets, landed Best Buy in the top 25 social brands of 2009, and helped drive overall customer complaints down by nearly 20% in the first year alone. But most importantly, 12th Force paved the way for a whole new approach to customer service. Thanks for watching.
What was the problem that this was solving? Absolutely. So there were a lot of customer complaints on social media, right? So this entire exercise, and I don't call it an ad, but you're welcome to, of course, is, the 12th Force was made of employees at Best Buy, right? So every time someone complained, okay, about, some service or product or whatever, this Best Buy guy went to resolve it, And at some point it became not only stuff that these guys talked, but any question that anyone had about consumer electronics, right? And this went on for 3-4 years very successfully. I don't know if it's still around, okay? That's why I don't call it an ad. I think it's, it's more experiential, right? Okay. And a lot of people are doing it perhaps in a better way these days, because this is 8 years back, right? Now with voice, with a lot of other, technology targeting, it has moved to other levels also. Okay, I'll just talk for 2 minutes about hero, hub, and hygiene content and how things are shifting a little bit. Some of you would be familiar with this, hero, hub, hygiene, right? Okay, all right. So some of you aren't, most aren't, but I'll just try and attempt. So hero advertising is what we call big agencies, ad agency work. You know, the Ogilvies and the Leo Burnett's and the FCBs of the world, or, you know, many digital agencies also, okay. These are big ticket items. This is a big TV ad. You know, the Cadbury's Dairy Milk film that you saw, that's a hero content, right? Now the thing is, you don't do hero content every day, right? You do it once, maybe once every 2 months or 3 months, because there's a lot of things around it, okay? And there's massive media buying, of course, right? So that's the hero content. Now, what has happened with new media, whether you call it digital or, you know, experiential or whatever, is there's a lot of hub and there's a lot of hygiene also happening, okay? So I'll give you an example. You go to Google and you type, you know, find sports stores near me. Or you type, what is the best diet for someone who's, you know, blah, blah, etc. You're looking for knowledge, you're looking for information, right? So that goes into hygiene. Okay. Now, basic hygiene. So a lot of SEO would be basic hygiene, but SEO is a very difficult thing to do, you know, putting out content, you know, whether it's video, whether it's, you know, text, blah, blah, other things, on a regular daily basis is a lot of hard work. And there's not so much money in it, okay? Which is why the big agencies, the hero agencies, are sometimes not interested, okay? Now there's the hub content, which is both hero and hygiene, right? So you take these pieces of knowledge, okay, from this hygiene, and you turn them into narratives, stories. Okay, that works because there's an emotional connect. And in advertising, and you know, I'm sure most of you will, all of you will agree, if there is a story, if there is a narrative, if there is an emotional connect, you know, your chances of getting someone to take some action are far higher. Right? Can you give me some examples, guys, in the room? Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
So we used to handle online reputation management for Vistara, among the other things that we did for them as their digital agency. And that's pretty much hygiene, right? Because you're going to answer. And we did the good part of ORM. So a lot of people consider ORM to be only when people complain. You write to them and say, I'm so sorry, etc. But also when people write good things about you, that's great. Because people believe people, right? So if somebody's written something really nice about you on Twitter or Facebook, can you take that and pass that forward to other people? It's very, very believable content that people will then start to trust. So what we did was, when we were doing ORM, we started realizing that people are saying a lot of good things about Vistara, and there are some people that they're constantly, you know, mentioning. So some were ground staff, some were, flight attendants, some were baggage handlers, etc. So we took that content and we made 3 pieces of content called, and we created this whole property called Vistara Love. And we got the flight attendants, we got the ground staff, we got the baggage handlers to read all the stuff that people had spoken about them. And they were thrilled and they were like so happy, and they were so inspired to do better. And we took that and we put it back again to people, saying that, you know what, your comments, your tweets, your love sort of inspires our staff. So I think that's what you do. You take hygiene and then you create a narrative and you turn it into hub content. So.
Yeah, great example. There's another. Yeah, you can applaud. Yeah. Sure.
These are all my own people applauding.
Yeah. Which is good. You have so many people. The other thing is, a lot of individuals. There's a new line of kind of business opening up in digital, spinning off from online reputation management is intellectual thought leadership, right? So a lot of senior industry people, CMOs, etc., usually owners of large family businesses, they want to be seen as smart, intelligent, thought leader kind of people, right? And so there are some people who are offering these, what should I say, thought leader kind of content through a lot of data mining, right? So if it's someone who is into, for example, the business of water, making ductile iron pipes, if you know what they are, they transport water underground. So thought leadership in environment, pure water, etc., is a huge plus for this guy. So if Mr. X is seen as a thought leader in, the environment discussions online, that's a huge plus for him, right? He goes to Davos and he talks about environment, clean water, the right to clean drinking water. So these are big things for him, And so I know there are agencies, small agencies, which are doing just this, and they're doing it well, right? An ad agency does everything in, typical definition, but in digital, there are specialist, smaller agencies, and I'll show you a little slide. Yeah. This is a little boring, but spend a minute on it. This will tell you about the new agency models that are emerging, right? You don't have to take pictures. I can mail it to you, after we finish. No problems. Okay. So, in the mid-90s, when I got into advertising, there were these, if you look at Iske Upar, there was this lead agency. This was typically the creative agency, the guys who would do the TV ad, right? Similar to many large engagements, clients selects a lead agency, typically creative, to control and coordinate. And around the lead agency, there would be media, there would be outdoor, there would be, blah, 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 many different things. Okay. So that was the old model. And the good thing was consistency, right? So if it was a low, right? So low would make sure all its, campaign pieces were consistent, one language, one family, etc. And they did a very good job out of it, right? But it was very time consuming, right? Then there was there's bespoke, and let me give you an example. Bespoke agency created best agency talent handpicked across disciplines. So if you've heard of, there's a lady in the other room, or was, GTB, Team Ford, Global Team Ford, right? So they picked the best WPP, I think, talent across agencies, and they work for only Ford. I think they used to. I mean, till recently, I'm not sure. Maybe Wyden has got a part of the business, whatever. So that's another example, right? And it's there for a lot of large, MNC kind of products, 70 countries, that sort of thing. Then there was in-house. In-house is, when the agency is sitting inside the client's office, right? Anyone give an example? Swiggy, I won't agree. Not exactly, because it's not an agency. They are employees, right? But I'll come to Swiggy. Swiggy comes here, right? Here, I would give the example of Chell. Right? Chell for Samsung. So they hire people, but this is Chell. I think they were trying other accounts also. I mean, outside Samsung. I'm not sure what happened. Okay. And there's, project. So there's a project. Nike wants to design a new, create the communication around a new football shoe. So different people from different parts of the world come together. They solve the problem, design, etc., and they disperse. They go away, right? So that's fit for purpose. So these are still around, especially in a country like India where, it's still, I will say, TV-led. The big money everyone in this room knows is still TV-led, right? So your Ogilvy's or etc., they will still be around, right? But what is increasingly emerging, and some of younger people in this room might be here, including Sharmishta, is, there are things like data, okay? There are things like media, programmatic buying, etc., which are kind of coming together. So a data guy and a creative guy are working in the same room at the same table, right? That's the core team, right? Then there are consultants, lead consultancies, so there's a group of consultants, they lead data, technology, infrastructure, other things, and they farm out work to sister companies, okay? New tribes, new from the ground up, client-centered agencies with a rich and diverse new skill set, tech and data led with ideation, distribution, and all. Swiggy, I think, or Zomato, a little bit here, though they are employees, they're not exactly an agency. Swiggy has, I think, 3 or 4 people who do only Instagram, nothing else. They create only Instagram content. And it works for them. Your agency of the future or client of the future, I'm not differentiating agency and client, it's the same thing. It's the same 2, 3 people trying to solve product problems or market problems or whatever it is, okay. These are the big pillars where the future is centered around, okay. And the future talent, young people, will be focusing on this. They already are, right? So there's the data analytics guy, right? What Sharmishta was talking about, it started with analytics, analyzing conversations, broadly speaking. Then there is technology, whether it's platform, whether it's, an app or something. Then there is content. I don't like calling it creative anymore. I prefer the word content. Right, so it's whether it's video or images, moving images, etc. Then there's media buying, and technology are very closely interlinked these days. Frankly, media buying is still negotiations, best rates, etc. But things like, increasingly what is happening is clients have realized that you don't need to be a genius to buy media. It's the same rate, right? And negotiations, etc. So, things like programmatic buying, where if clients are spending a lot of money over a period of time, like SEO, okay, they actually save a lot of money, the targeting is much better, more efficient, etc. So technology and media are very closely linked together, okay. Then the strategic relationships. So, for example, if you're familiar with influencer marketing, there are companies which have a separate influencer marketing department, right? And finally, there's production. So there are again companies, agencies which only produce, big ticket, small ticket, whatever it is. So broadly, this is the palette of, the new agency that's happening. I don't have too much time. I'm running out of time, but I want to show you a couple of videos. The elections just got over, and there was a lot of, content, online, offline, etc. Okay, and all political parties took online content very, very seriously. Okay, and there were, whether you call them IT cells or you call them trolls or whatever it is, they played a major role, and a lot of money went there. We don't hear about how much money, but I know there's a lot of money that went in there. Have you heard of Kunal Kamra? Is he from an ad agency? No, right? But the content that he created played a major role in urban kind of audiences, right? And he did it on his own.
चोट ये तो भारी लगा है मेरे दिल पे, बात मेरी तुझसे तो सुनता सिर्फ उनके। मंत्री को वोट पर, कंट्री तो जेब में, बेचते हैं ख्वाब पर, जलते तो खेते हैं झूठ 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 सच्चाई के कलेश में। ग्रेट मेरा देश, सूट एंड टाई के आदेश में।
हेलो, गुड इनफ, ग्रेट एक्टिंग गाइस। यार एक बात बताओ, ये मेरे और अंबानी जी के बीच में मोदी जी क्या कर रहे हैं? मैं सीधा अंबानी को वोट क्यों नहीं दे सकता? अपने को कोई प्रॉब्लम है क्या अंबानी से? बनाओ ना पीएम। अंबानी के पास वो सब कुछ है जो मेरे को चाहिए, मेट्रो, कपड़ा, पेट्रोल, वाईफाई तो फ्री में दिया है यार। इतना दयालु आदमी देखा है। बेटे को जॉब लगाना था, पूरे देश में वाईफाई बांट दिया। अभी पूरा देश एक हाथ में फोन, दूसरे में पकड़ के बैठा है।
But imagine there's an agency which has 5 Kunal Kamras. Okay, for every political party there's 5 guys. What would you call that agency?
Hello, good enough.
Right.
Great acting guys.
This is the future of advertising.
यार एक बात बताओ।
I mean, this is influencer advertising. Of course, some people are trying to do it.
मोदी जी क्या कर रहे हैं? मैं सीधा अंबानी को वोट क्यों नहीं दे सकता?
So I won't play the entire thing. One campaign that I really liked.
आप आश्वस्त रहिए, आपका ये चौकीदार पूरी तरह से चौकन्ना है।
ये देश ये मेरा वतन, ये मेरा घर मेरा चमन। ये देश ये मेरा वतन, ये मेरा घर मेरा चमन। सबका विकास चाहता और चाहता हूँ बस अमन। वो एक अकेला चल पड़ा, मैं उसकी ही कतार हूँ। हाँ, मैं भी चौकीदार हूँ। हाँ, मैं भी चौकीदार हूँ। वादा किया है खुद से अब कूड़ा नहीं फैलाऊंगा, कि भ्रष्टाचार काले धन को जड़ से यूं मिटाऊंगा। मैं नए भारत की कल्पना, मैं नए भारत की कल्पना से सहमत विचार हूँ। हाँ, मैं भी चौकीदार हूँ। हाँ हाँ जी, चौकीदार हूँ। उद्योग है मेरा, मेहनत से करता काम हूँ, मेहनत से करता काम हूँ। एक घर का चूल्हा मुझसे है, मैं उज्ज्वला सा नाम हूँ, मैं उज्ज्वला सा नाम हूँ। मैं देश के विकास में छोटा सा भागीदार हूँ। अरे हाँ जी, चौकीदार। वो उंगलियां उठाएंगे, वो झूठ कहते जाएंगे। सच की परख तो है मुझे, वो क्या मुझे बहकाएंगे, क्या मुझे बहकाएंगे। के झूठ के कपाल पे मैं सत्य का प्रहार हूँ। हाँ, मैं भी चौकीदार हूँ। हाँ, मैं भी चौकीदार हूँ। आतंक अब नहीं सहूंगा, हाँ मैं चुप नहीं रहूंगा। भारती का लाल हूँ, मैं कब तलक नहीं कहूंगा। मैं सरहदों के हौसलों, मैं सरहदों के हौसलों के साथ एक हुकार हूँ। हाँ, मैं भी चौकीदार हूँ।
हर उस भारतीय में है एक चौकीदार जिसे है देश की फिक्र। जुड़िए मैं भी चौकीदार हूं कार्यक्रम से प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के साथ 31 मार्च शाम 5 बजे।
Do you know which agency did it? There's no agency. You know, it started off with an opposition attack, Chokidar Chor hai. I mean, the original Chokidar, of course, Modi himself created many years back. But when the opposition started attacking, you know, Chokidar Chor hai, this was done as a response, and the core idea came from the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, right? And this was finally executed by an agency in Ahmedabad, okay, Ahmedabad, of course. But, you know, I mean, they didn't have much to do. It was all, you know, written for them, okay. And the reason I like it is, you know, the Maybe Chokidar hashtag movement, okay, went out of this, yeah, okay, another few minutes, went out of digital, you know, whatever film and went into Twitter and, you know, to a point where people were writing Chokidar so and so. We can call them bucks if you like, but, you know, it really spread into a movement, right? I'll leave you with one last slide. So the new agency is all about the customer actually, okay. And customer is not, like I was saying a little earlier, SEC A or B. That is, I think, slightly outdated way of looking at the future, okay. So the customer, you know, there are 4 broad areas, okay. Customer as an influencer or influencer as a customer, you know, there are, within influencers, there are thought leaders, journalists, bloggers, practitioners, users, okay, sorry, experts. Content is also increasingly created by customers these days, you know. So the customers are setting the narrative, right? Customers are creating memes, okay, personas, you know, etc. Then there are communities of customers which brands are kind of exploring, getting into, trying to set the narrative, okay, collaborations, sharing ideas, etc. And then customer as an advocate, okay. For those of you who come from, you know, the 90s, you can see a lot of similarities, but then it's still, you know, very different, right? So that's it. I wish I had a little more time and, you know, because a lot of these slides would need a little deep dive, but this is hopefully, you know, they'll trigger interesting thoughts and you can explore on your own. Thank you. Thanks a lot.